All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back with a whole new video, and we're going to discuss a little bit today about some of the techniques that I am employing and the rites and rituals, basically, the tools being put forth through the studies and the practices of the traditions that I'm delving into. Okay. And I'm trying out a new coffee. This one's called Super Coffee. It's positive energy, OG added sugar or 0G added sugar, 10G protein, 200 mg caffeine, and it's sweet and creamy, and supposedly it's been sweetened with something called monk fruit. Interesting, I know, right? I was standing in the grocery store last night and at the checkout, because I went in for some milk and a few other things and decided to surprise my better half and my nephew with a coffee. So, because I was going out to drop off my son and I saw this on the end cap. So it's like, super coffee, huh? Wonder if it's like jet fuel in a bottle. So let's try it. It's kind of tangy, but maybe it just needs shaking. Yeah, that's better. All right. Not very good coffee, but it's there. All right. So, anyways, last week I put forth a challenge to all of you viewers to choose 3 books, and I've been reading this one, The Black Arts by Richard Cavendish. It's a very good book that is full of gnosis. So I've been taking some notes and decided, you know what? Since I'm studying Bergeria as a Bruo, a Polero, or in my case, a Marimberos, a Warlock, I decided, you know what, let's implement some of these terminologies and some of these practices into Bergeria, because Bergeria is one of those type of practices that have a lot of gnosis from various different traditions. Think Hoodooism in this case, because Hoodooism takes from various different traditions. So I did that challenge last week before I ended up being sick for a day. So it was kind of interesting. But it was one of those things because I went to work Saturday, Sunday, and I picked up Monday. So I worked Monday, which is normally my day off. And there was a lot of complaining, a lot of things just coming down at work that was negative. Okay. There was no negative. There was so much negativity. I mean, everybody was getting their asses chewed out. Okay. Basically being anally invaded, if you wish, by the new company owners and all the way down and so forth. So, and it was interesting because it got me thinking the last couple of days of, okay, this is where this road is taken. This is why I decided to join this company and to go on my career not only as a dietary aid, which is basically what it started out as, because I wanted to not only build my cooking career up a little bit better, but kind of learn some new dishes. But at the same time, I wanted to delve into their programs for thanatology. Okay. which is, for those of you who do not know, it's necromancy type stuff where you are studying death and dying. Okay. Alpha Draconian, welcome to the channel, sister. Welcome. So, the last 5 months, I've been focusing mostly on the um, the dietary aid stuff. You know, getting situated there before I go to the facility manager and say, "Hey, I'd like to begin my journey into these programs. That you offer." They get myself this head start into the thanatology class that I'm about to start taking at a online university. So, in just a couple of months. So, um, it's kind of cool because when I got into Bulgaria around the same time when I left Duncan, it was a path I wasn't really expecting to get much out of because it seemed kind of simplistic. But I went into Bulgaria, practices and studies from both the American and the Mexican perspective with an open mind and an open arms, you know, practice wise. And I started gathering all the books, I started joining all the Facebook groups. I started getting on YouTube and delving into all the Bulgaria uh, videos and everything to learn. I started learning Spanish, and I'm still having a hell of a time with the pronunciations of that language. That is the damnedest freaking language I've ever come across. But I'm picking it up slowly. Let's just leave it at that on that one. So, anyways, to make a short story, a long story short, rather, um, I went into it. I started doing all the research. I now have 1,666 words towards an essay that I'm writing for my personal grimoire. And thank you, Alpha. And it's interesting because I didn't realize I had that much written down just on Brugeria because I started out with the terminology. Okay. And then I went into the various different practices, the Travajos, the tools, and all that stuff, because I believe that the terminology is perhaps the most greatest aspect to any religious or philosophical practice. When you're calling on spirits and you're using the whispers, if you wish, the mantras, the words of power, or whatever you call it, depending on the tradition. I believe that's the perhaps the most important thing is how you pronounce them, okay, from your perspective. No matter how insane they are, just kind of sound them out, break it down into, I guess you can call it syllables, maybe. You know, it's one of those things like you take the word, um, let's go with Andromulus for an example, you know, break it down into like Andromulus. Okay. And kind of just break it down and just, pronounce it the best way you can, especially if you don't know that language. So it's something that I found in my own personal journey that has benefited me because instead of listening to what others say it's pronounced as, it's more of finding out what works for you. Because of the fact that when you say something like, say, Andromulus or Andromulae or whatever you want to call it, for a name, it would be like going with Asmodee, Asmodai, Asmodeus. It's the same being, just different spellings. So, whereas others would believe it's three different individual spirits. Okay. But you got to remember where it's traced to and where these names are taken from. Okay, from a point of reference. What grimoires were they spoken of? Okay, so when I decided, you know what, I want to go further into the African Caribbean traditions. I went in, I decided, you know what, it's time to delve into Progeria. So I delved into Progeria and I started doing this and I started, taking the names, the different terminologies, and I started, writing them down, what they translate into from both the English and the either the Portuguese or the Spanish, you know, um, names for them. And then I went into the tools, the practitioners, the types of practitioners, the animals, if there's animal guides, animal familiars, you know, the different spells, the different tools, everything. Long before I even began to put this stuff together for my own personal use. Okay. And I even went underneath Google and started delving into this aspect. And after about 2 to 3 months of just diehard studying, practicing, and reading up on both Bergerias, gathering like I said, the books and everything that I needed, joining in and asking the questions in the groups, going to those more experienced, like the admins within these the Facebook groups, saying, "Hey, I'm new to this path. I'm trying to learn it. I want to get into it even further on a more serious, dedicated level. I am a practicing necromancer, a warlock, a you know, and I would like to get to know how to do this stuff on a much more in-depth level. Can you give me some pointers?" And most of them were just, closed off, ignorant asshats. They were like, "Pff, fuck you. I'm not going to tell you a goddamn thing." But there were those few that sat there and went, "Okay, have you tried this, this, and this? We can initiate you, or you can, it's not really about initiation like Santeria or Palo, but it is more about you and what you derive it from your own practices that you've traversed so far." And it's more white lighter stuff like healing and spiritual conjurations, spell casting. Okay. So it was like, okay, so what would you recommend for herbs and stuff to use within the rituals? And some of them came back and were quite forthcoming with their knowledge. I mean, I had to sit there and constantly translate each time they posted, because I, like I said, I don't speak Spanish that well. You know, 10 years ago, I only knew one sentence, and I blew it the first time through with a friend of my mother's. So, and she got all excited and realized, that's the only Spanish I know. So now, like I said, and now it's that time where it's like I got to get serious in this stuff, and it is part of this culture. So guess what? Speaking, the one thing I know about any given practice is speaking in their language is it empowers the rites and rituals. It empowers your spells. So what I did was, after going all through this stuff and gathering all the supplies and everything that I would need for the rituals, the trebajos and everything, I started practicing. I started experimenting, and this start. This was kind of cool because, as a necromancer, one of the types of practitioners is the El Necromante. Okay, and I just probably butchered that because I'm working on the tongue, when speaking the Spanish definitions. So if I fuck that up, I apologize dearly. You know, it's nothing personal towards the Spanish lingo. So and plus my apprentice is also helping out when he can. So giving me a few tips and pointers in that area too. So that kind of helps. Um, so I've been doing some spells. I've been working with El Diablo, and the devil, and been working with a lot of demons and a lot of devils, things like and beings like Murmur, Bifron, um, working with Beelzebub, Seer, and a few others that really. come together within a necromantic perspective. And I found Lucifer Cal really did work well with that tradition as well. So I'm furthering my personalized relationship with him in this area as well. But it did kind of interest me and fascinate me to the fact that I couldn't believe how close Brujeria was to Hoodooism because of the fact that Hoodooism, like I said, takes from various different traditions, okay, of sorcery. But what sets Hoodooism apart from Brujeria, from my perspective so far in my journey, is the fact that there are five different. They literally divide and separate the five classifications of magic, which is white, black, red, green, and gray. Okay. Most types of witchcraft and sorcery, they don't do this. They clump it down into sorcery and spell casting, and you're just using the tools. Here, they actually separate the sorcery so that you know, okay, if you're doing wealth and you know benefits for like say monetary gain or that of say any form of prosperity, you want to use the earthbound energy. So this would be the green candles. You would be doing things like what would be classified today in Wiccan and pagan practices as green witchcraft. Okay. Whereas, say for an example, somebody works solely with demons like myself, or say Alpha Draconian here, we'd be using black magic, sorcery, red magic, even working with passion, desire, and working with the demonic. Okay, so we would be using that aspect, but when we use spells, it would be more gray. Okay, because we're able to use both white and black magic. And it's very interesting in this because of the fact that, like the Grey Witches traditions that are out there today, this particular type of sorcery you can influence all of the other four, which is very, very interesting. Earlier today, just a little while ago, I completed a live video for Wealth and Prosperity. It was a ritual that I did live right here on my YouTube channel. And I put forth a few new techniques. I utilized some new offering techniques, one old technique, and I used a lot of prayer. And I even gave some offerings within my own blood. I don't know if you can see it, right, right here, right on my arm. I used my right arm because that was in my opinion, that was a my right arm was more of coming in friendship, peace, amongst the spirits and saying, hey, I'm coming to you in this form, petitioning you for your aid to open up the doors and to, continue enlightening me upon this path, but also to seeking your aid and your wisdom on how to further this. So then once I had all this done, I gave all the offerings, the libations, and put forth the prayer. I sat down, put myself into some meditation for about 3 to 5 minutes, and from there went in and sprinkled some amber into the candles. I also used some sulfur powder, also known as brimstone powder, and put that into the cauldron to thicken the smoke and to give that as an offering to the demonic for their aid and kind of say, hey, thank you for coming and working with me. You know what I'm saying? So I did all that stuff, and it was kind of cool because I felt the energy swirling around the ritual room. I felt them come forth and really, it was like there was no worries. Whatever I have, what I was going for and what I was putting forth. I don't know if it picked up what I was saying on the video, but I felt it being accepted. So it was very, very cool. It was a great start for some new techniques that I put forth. And then I put my left hand out and called on El Diablo and was talking to him for a little bit. I think the whole video lasted maybe, I think it was like 23 minutes long, but it was worth it. I would have loved to have gone further with it, but I just had nothing else to say because I felt like it was all said and done. It was just done. It was accepted. Why beat a horse to death? You know what I'm saying? So I ended the video and went in and cleaned myself up and was contemplating on what transpired. And I'm going to be writing this down as well in my journal. So the new tools and these rights that I'm putting forth, and I'm doing this live because I want you to see as it unfolds live from a warlock's perspective. Okay, from my perspective as a satanic warlock, I wanted you to see how my personal journey is growing within Bergeria, but also the techniques that I'm using, how it's working, and I'm also going to be discussing what the outcome is on all of them. Okay. In this case, my better half and I were getting ready to vamoose from this place. And we're looking to not only get a new car, well, I'm looking for a new car because mine's an old, Saturn View that basically the underneath, thanks to, you know, this city, this state, they use such chemicals that it rots the bottom of, the frame of the vehicle. And then you have to sit there and spend 4 grand just to get it repaired. So, but because of the location of one of the holes and the rust spots, that had broken through, if that goes, guess what? The ass end of the car is gone anyways. So it's like you can't really replace that section. So it's like, yeah, why don't we go for a new car? You know what I'm saying? Why not go for a better car and kind of, I'd love to get like a 2016 area like my better half, and one that has a rear camera and all that stuff. So but I'd rather have SUV with it though. You know, I love the SUVs. And as Alpha just put forth here, you know, the candle colors and and stuff like that on the day of Jupiter is very, very good. So, and Hannah, welcome to the channel. I just noticed you were on here too. So it's and you're welcome. So it's going to be interesting to see the outcome of the ritual. I petition the spirits for this benefits, either in financial gain or for the any way that they want to bless me in this area and to lead me to this blessing. So we'll see what happens there. But in the meantime, I'm going to be continuing on with the challenge that I put forth last week. Like I said, I showed 3 books. Um, this one here by Richard Cavendish, The Black Arts. This is the first edition. The 3 books of occult philosophy by Agrippa, and Black Magic by Edward Arthur White. Okay, so 3 different authors, but surrounding black magic. So in the meantime, I'm going to continue the studies, the research, and the practices, and I hope that you continue to follow me on this because I'm holding nothing back. I want you to see everything, and I want you to be able to grow and learn within your own practices as much as I do. Oh, really? That's pretty cool. What do you think so far on that one? I read it years ago, about 5, 6 years ago, That was basically the last time I read that book. So I'm actually looking forward to delving back into it once I get this one completed. Um, Also, the reason why I chose those three books, at least in my from my perspective, is the fact that number one, you're dealing with astrology, you're dealing with numerology, you're dealing with the alchemical process, the metals, and you're dealing with well, let's just call it the way it is, spiritualism. Okay, not just the personal hunger for the power of black magic. Because let's face it, nobody gets into black magic without having that hunger and that thirst for that knowledge and that power. Because that's basically what black magic is. It is raw power. It's unlike, say, for an example, demonolatry, where you're forming a relationship with spirits and working with them to better, to further their agenda, not just your own, but it's more about forging that relationship, aligning yourself with their currents. Okay. When you're working with, say, witchcraft, you're utilizing the elements. Okay. You're learning to forge those elements. And let's face it, as a necromancer, as a practicing necromancer, this is a path where you are working with the dead. You are working with different spirits, from baneful spirits to say, for example, the jinn, the devi, your ancestors, depending on the tradition. You are working with all of these spirits. And so through either reanimation or conjuration of, type practices. So I mean, Progeria is one of those ones that I really like this current. I have to confess, I like this. I love this path, and I feel that right now in my career as a warlock and a necromancer, it is a path that suits me. It is a path that I feel connected to. And after doing my ancestry and finding out that I have lineage down in the southwestern US, but also with a Native American tradition, heritage, and mostly European based heritage. I found that this explains why I'm connected to magic, why it feels so natural for me to be more inclined to be in the ritual room and performing magic than to actually be associating with people, like at a pub or at a nightclub or wherever. I'm just not that kind of guy. And as a parent and as a father, it's you also got to be responsible there and do what you got to do to support your family. So either way you look at it, finding the connection in the root of why sorcery fits you, finding that those traditions that will help benefit you personally is something that is a very good thing, and I do recommend that. So, learning is always good. Self mastery is always good. If you can't master yourself, how do you expect to master the world? Okay. We've seen so many fall over the last few years. I know there's been a lot of stories going around social media, and I don't get involved in that type of stuff that often. If I have something to say, I say it once and done. You know what I'm saying? So it's if you're not rooted in your tradition, if you're not benefiting yourself through hard work, dedication, I'm talking blood, sweat, and tears, um, being completely committed and dedicated to the practices, aligning yourself with the currents and forging those pacts and those deals, and give the and keeping your oath that you've made with these spirits, then you shouldn't be doing it. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. We've seen so many fakes come and go. We've seen too many come and go. And that's why I've done this Warlock series, is because it's time to get back to basics. It's time to delve back into the actual sorceries and get away from this crap. Okay? It has nothing to do with politicalism. It has nothing to do with your sexual orientation. It has nothing to do with all this corruption that's out there, or this bullshitting stuff that's out there, these fakes. It's all about the sorcery. It's all about growth. Okay? And that's what we got to get back to. And that's why I put the Warlock series through. And that's why I'm furthering it. Okay. And the people that, like you, my fans, those who come on here and associate with me, those that have subscribed, it's an honor to have you. It's a privilege. And knowing that people are actually benefiting from the material that I'm putting forth, that that I'm backing up what I'm saying with, you know, because I always back up what I say with multiple different sources. And I think that that is perhaps one of the key things for my success, because when I speak on something, I always give references so that you can sit there and go, okay, he mentioned this, this, and this. Let's go check into it. Guess what? You may pick up on something that I missed. Okay. This is how we learn. This is how we grow as a community. Okay. That is a good thing. We all have our own path. We have our own set of ethics that we put forth in our careers as Black Adepts. Okay. Anybody can put the word black before it. Anybody can put the word evil or whatever before, their titles. Anybody can do that. But you have to earn it. You have to earn each step of the way. It was over 25 years before I realized people actually saw me as an elder. Long before I became a minister, people sought me out for the knowledge and the wisdom that I got, that I earned, that I, through my hard work and dedication of research and study, not just practice. When I came online for the first time, I think back in '09, '08, '09 area, I thought it was kind of interesting because of the fact that I thought, you know what, let's just put all these grimoires forth and kind of talk about this stuff. People ate it up. And then I started, changing it up a little bit and kind of getting into the actual practices and the sources. And a lot of people is like, no, I don't want this. Well, that's okay. My channel is not for everybody. If you don't connect to what I'm doing, cool. That's why I always say, just do you. Okay? It's not about somebody else, it's about you. That I concur with, Hannah. Don John says everything is a lesson that must be learned the hard way, and I concur with that. I have never taken the easy way, not once in my life. Anything worth doing is worth doing right. Okay? No shortcuts, no nothing. You want to earn something, you want to earn one of the questions. Let me put it to you this way. I did a post in a Facebook group, I want to say last week. And I got under there today to check my messages, and somebody had posted a comment saying, "Well, I wish I had that connection, with the spirits." And it's like, how much dedication and commitment do you put into your practices? Okay, do you just dabble in it and then only go to them when there's something that you need, or do you actually do this on a daily basis, like say 2, 3 times a day? Okay, like right now, I have candles going. I have incense going. I have that offering that I put in there from the video. Okay. And it's still going on in there. in my ritual room. Okay, I go through a lot of candles a week. You're looking at probably about $100 worth of candles in 1 week. That's $200 out of my paycheck. It goes specifically to incense, candles, and other ingredients that I'll need for the rituals and rites that I do. Every paycheck, I'm ordering books. I'm ordering more knowledge to study and to practice. Finding different authors on the same topics. Okay? Think about it like this. In a video, in a photo that I put forth on my sites on TikTok, Timber, Instagram, MeWe, Facebook, and I did a live video, and I showed them on here as well on my YouTube channel. I showed two different authors for Brugeria. Okay, one was the Blood of Brugeria. I forget the lady's name, the couple's name that actually wrote that. And then I showed the book for the American Brugeria. So far, I've only found one author that wrote about American Brugeria. So that knowledge, I'm still going through that book with a fine tooth comb, delving into every area that catches my attention and learning and writing it down. Okay. I find that writing is something that will help you remember more than to actually typing. I mean, you can type if it helps you. It's a great way to just get underneath, but what happens if your computer goes, right? Or what happens if, this is my latest notebook, by the way. Yeah. If I showed you what's under here, I have two bags over there full of notebooks that I've been writing. I have one for necromancy, one for Brugeria. I have one for voodooism. I have one over here for the cabal. Okay, so I've got a lot of traditions that I'm literally delving into and studying because I found that as a necromancer and as a warlock, a practitioner, a male practitioner, all these systems have something in common through their knowledge. But like every tradition, there is something that is different about them. That's what's fascinating because then you can sit there and go into those differences and go, wow, okay, I would never have thought to do this. Last October, I did a curse. I would never have thought about taking a cursing jar with the seals of each type of curse, on that alone, placing all the ingredients inside of it, including the effigy, locking it, screwing the cover on, pouring the candle wax down, sealing it in. Okay, using things like urine and different acids and stuff like that, nails, paprika, chicken feet, you name it, putting all this stuff in there. And like I said, sealing it up with candle wax, utilizing a dibbet box, because a dibbet box is out of Jewish mythology and it's used for baneful spirits, those who are harmful and don't play well with people. Okay, so to actually take a cursed jar, let's say for example, if you're cursing an enemy and you put all that stuff, you take the dibbet box and you place seals and wardings and all this stuff on the inside and outside of it. You write in it with the runes as well. Okay, and then you place everything in that dibbet box. Okay, I'm talking everything. If you do candles, if you use the taper candles, you take all that wax and you shove it in there. You take it if you use, say for example, crystals. crystallized salt, like say sea salt or bath salts, black sand, and you use sulfur powder within, say, a triangle of evocation wise. Take all of it, sweep it up, and put it into the divot box. Put it down, and then you seal that up with candle wax. I mean, you pour a shit ton of fucking candle wax over it. Okay, and you really seal it up. I'm talking all the edges. I'm talking the lock. Seal it up, and then you take it out. You either bury it in a cemetery in a freshly made grave, or you dump it in a river, or you dump it. You bury it in a crossroads in the forest. You know, or you take it out into an abandoned building and you seal that shit up. You know what I'm saying? Either way, you are committing that individual to an eternity of solitude. It is said that 1,000 cuts is worse than death. It's true. It is true. So, but like I said, you have to. This is what I'm talking about when I say you have to be committed, dedicated. It's not a sometimes thing. It's not a path that you can, you know, do part time. It's a full time thing. It's a daily occurrence. If I'm not reading, I'm doing rituals. My better half is a Baptist, and she'll look at me sometime. I'd go in and I'd do a ritual, and not a day later, it's freaking downpouring for like 3 days. I did a ritual once, and it created a heat dome over the eastern seaboard. I did a ritual, and that was back when after I left Tractor Supply. When I left Dunkin' Donuts, I did another one, another set of rituals. And it was funny because then half the freaking country ended up in a heat dome. you know, and I do rituals and it's affecting the weather. Okay. So it's one of those things where she's always looking at me and go, well, you made it happen. It's like, oh sure, blame the practitioner. Jeez. Not everything is about me. So it's you do get blamed for stuff, but she knows that if she needs something happens, to happen, she comes to me. And a lot of people don't get that. And it's like your tradition says stay away from soothsayers, wizards, necromancers, witches and warlocks and all that stuff, but yet you're the first motherfuckers to get in there and say, "Hey, I'm petitioning you for a rite and a ritual. Can you help me?" It's like, come on, people. And this is really horrible coffee. I am not a big fan of this. I'm not getting that again. I just bought that because I thought it would be interesting to try, but that is putrid. That taste is like, ugh. It's a good thing I got a water bottle. Oh. So, anyways, it is Alpha. It really is. And have you read the second book on that? The was it Magia by that same set of authors? Incredible books. I recommend all of you, if you're getting into Bergeria, get those two books, The Blood of Bergeria and Magia. That is the most well written book, down to earth, no bullshit, all about the practice of Bergeria for the newbie. I really recommend it. Now, if you want to get into the American Bergeria book, that one is in a lot of detail and a lot of information. Like I said, I'm still going through that book with a fine tooth comb. Okay. There's a lot of books out there on Bergeria, and it's good. Well, Tim Hortons has some good. I like their peppermint tea. Okay, personally. Now, I recently as of last month, started drinking their coffee, their iced coffee, mocha coffee. Very, very good. So, it's very good coffee. But yeah, I do recommend those 3 books to you. Um, The American Brujeria is perhaps one of the best books out there that's got from an American Brujeria perspective. A lot of rituals and a lot of Trapageos are written in there, not just animal spirits and different types of practitioners. Okay. I think right now I've been experimenting with roughly a dozen Trapageos right now. And today's ritual earlier that was dealing with prosperity and wealth was the first time I dealt with what would be classified as green magic. Okay, and that's coming from a Brujeria perspective. Okay, not green witchcraft, just green green magic from Brujeria practices. And I was using a Trabajo in this case that was a pine box. Okay, pine is one of the most significant. I love the smell of pine boxes, but this one here was handmade. It was carved with a hermetic design on top, and I've actually drawn on it, and I placed a lot of seals on it that for wardings and everything. And I welcomed a specific group of spirits that Trabajo is specifically for them. And it's interesting because I'm actually putting currency in there, real money, my money, okay, that I've earned. I've started over the last few months, I've been putting this money in there and giving it to them as an offering. It's my sacrifice because it's coming out of my paycheck, but it is an offering that I freely gave to them, okay, to help benefit the traditions and the cause. So I'm not the only one who actually does this either. And I actually got the idea from Bokor Leonard Imera. He did a video on Baron Samedi, and he showed an altar that he had set up against a wall, and with a couple of statues and a whole bunch of candles. And the way he put it is, and I'm going to say it the way he said it, but I'm going to use my own words. And I'm going to just say this quite frankly, because I do believe this, and believe me when I tell you, I've actually experimented with this. Okay, um, when you give money to a deity, be it a Loa, an Orisha, a demon, or even a group of spirits, you never take that back. Okay, I do concur with this 100%. Uh, Scribd. Yes, Alpha. I do recommend Scribd as well. It, what does it cost to use Scribd nowadays? Back in 2013, it was like $7, I think, per month. Is it still $7 or is it more these days? It's been a while since I've been on Scribd. I've gotten so many PDFs off there. So, but yeah, Scribd actually has over, what is it? Now over 1,000 different occult grimoires and practices. 9.99. Okay, so it went up a couple of dollars. That's not bad. I got to get back onto that too. I got to download that again. I have a whole new phone and I got a laptop now, so should actually download that again. But either way works. It's still cheap. I do recommend it. That's actually where I started my finding PDFs for myself. It was years ago. So, but no, this one here, when you put um, money into a spirit box, let's say, for example, if you have a spirit bottle and you have um, a box that is specifically designed for offerings. Some people use offering plates, others use offering bowls. Um, I use a chalice for personally because for me, when you mix your blood in with the wine, you give that to the spirits, but you can also drink with the spirits. So it's one of those things where you're in a mutually agreed um, standing. Okay. But if you have a box or a bowl that is specifically for the offerings to that particular spirit or a group of spirits in this case, then you put that money in there and you don't freaking touch it. Okay. Now, like I said, I did an experiment in this case. I was wondering what would happen if you actually took, like, say, a $20 bill out of that because you needed it for something. So, um, so I ended up taking, like, say, $10 or I think it was like $10 out of there once, and I gave it to my better half because she didn't have any money, and just for that until her paycheck came in about a day later, and she was working a double, and I didn't want her to go um, without. So, and I gave my word I'd double it and put it back, but I wanted to see what would happen, and I noticed you when I did that, there was a decrease in the income. Okay, one of my main incomes literally just got hit. It was like I got a letter in the mail and it said, "You know what? Guess what? Because of this, this month, where just we're just some what's the term I'm trying to go with here? Not having it. You're not going to get it anymore." So I had to call up and go, "Hey, I had to go through the hoops and jump through the bullshit and all that stuff, and I ended up getting that financial stuff back, but um, if I wanted to see what it was, what would happen if you took something back from the gods or the spirits, and it's good to have that experience so you actually have a full understanding of what can happen. This was just a minor hit. Okay, this is like a minor hit to me, but and to my family, but I ended up doing what I said I would do. I gave back instead of I took like $10 out, and I ended up putting $20 in. Okay, so and this was a few months back, and it was interesting because of the fact that since then I went from Dunkin' Donuts into a much better job, less stress, still a lot of bitching and a little bit of negativity, but still it's there. And you're gonna get that wherever you go, anyways. But it's more a fact that I get a pay increase. I'm getting more in a paycheck than I would at my old job. So the gods and the spirits that I work with are benefiting me. They're working with me and they're opening the doors and they're leading me to to the the topics being put forth. Okay. So I wanted to do a live video on that because since I've been doing Brageria practices, I wanted you to see what that was like. Okay. Not just doing, you'll notice in the videos that I have a grist bag that's up on the altar. I have phylacteries everywhere. I've got dark totems everywhere. Throughout I got scrying mirrors and crystal balls, the palmistry and all that fun stuff. But there's also a section down below that you don't see, and there's a reason for that. That is between me and the gods. So everything above is what I use for public viewing. Everything below, that's between me and my personal use. So keep that in mind as well. But while I'm doing those videos, I want you to see what's transpiring. Pay attention to the incense smoke. Pay attention to the candles and how they're doing their thing. Okay, the energy being raised in the ritual room. Take note of everything transpiring. What noises are you hearing? What um what dances are are the candles doing? Which candle is it? Is it one candle or is it multiple candles? Okay, keep in mind that some locations have, depending on where you are, you're going to have a breeze. Okay. In my altar room, I chose that altar room for a reason because there is no um airflow. It is a deprivation chamber. Okay. There is no airflow. Unless I open that door, there is no oxygen in there. It is solely a black room. Okay. That is specifically set up for rituals. Okay. And so the alarm doesn't go off. You know what I'm saying? So, but the point is that you're going to learn and you're going to grow and mature within your practices. And you got to start with yourself before you can go into these traditions. And it's always a good thing. But as my journey is growing within Bulgaria, I wanted you to see it and kind of go with it as well. I want you to see how it's unfolding. So, those of you who liked it, and those of you who have seen it and want to subscribe, feel free to to hit that subscribe button. Nobody's twisting your arm. If not, who cares? As long as you come back and want to see, even participate. Juju bags. That's a term I haven't heard in a while. That's old school terminology right there for you. So, mojo bag, hoodoo, gris, voodoo. Now, personally, out of all the voodoo practices, I like Haitian voodoo myself. I really connected to Papa Gadi in that tradition, not just Baron Simedi. But yeah, I mean, since I delved into, I started this new job. My better half got a new car. You know, our cars are paid off. She graduated from high school, or not high school, but fucking high school. Hello, college. She went back to college, and she actually got a degree in college, and now she's getting ready to go to a different college and delving into. She's going for her MA now, which is awesome. And Emera, Leonard Emera. There you go. Bokor Leonard Emera. I recommend his page to you. He's very good. Love the music he plays on his channel too. I don't know where he got that music from, but I love the rhythm of it. So, but he has a lot of talk. He talks a lot on there, and his videos are normally roughly about 20 to 30 minutes long a lot of the times, but he does go a little bit longer. He puts a lot of gnosis out there, a lot of wisdom. Tends to yell a lot. I get the sense that he tends to yell a lot. Kind of raises his voice within a stern, but how should I say this? Almost like he's yelling over somebody. But in this case, it's just him. So it could be his location too, because when he's out in the park or doing these live videos or at a restaurant or traveling, I think he was current from his last video I saw. He was I want to say he was in Florida. I think either Florida or New Orleans. Was the last video I saw. He was going around a lot of different locations and traveling. So he's one of the best Bokor teachers that I know of, and I do take note of what he says. So, but yeah, it's Bokor Leonard Emera. Look him up on YouTube. He also has a Facebook page, if I'm not mistaken. Can't speak for TikTok, but I know he has a Timber account. Instagram, maybe. MeWe, don't know. I haven't bothered to look there. I just subscribe to his channel on YouTube. So you're welcome. So yes, but yeah, with it, now I'm getting ready to go back to college, like I said. So, and I'm going to be going back to college in a couple of years. Not a couple of years, but a couple of months. My son is getting ready to go to pre-K. Yay! We're going to be subscribing him for the fall. So, like I said, everything's going in a very beneficial manner for myself and my family. And my own apprentice is, his my apprentices, their lives are improving all the time. One apprentice can't believe how far he's come in just a short time since he came to me a year ago. So I mean, you really want to pay attention to details and get into your own life. Get out of not into your own life, but into these practices, and don't hold back. Do this on a daily ritual. I'm talking meditations, experimentations, reading, always growing. You remember, it's not about anyone else; it's about you. Okay, it's all about you, no one else. There's an old expression: opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. That should tell you a lot. So, a, a man who does not learn from history is doomed to repeat it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You know what I'm saying? So, in the end of the day, it's you. It's up to you to learn. It's up to you to become, to delve into the practices. It's up to you to get serious with your own, you know, practice, your own style, and go from there. You know, find what works for you. If it doesn't work for you, get rid of it. Okay? Find something that does. That's why it's called alchemy. That's why it's called experimentation. Okay? It's all about you. All I can do is guide you, share my own personal experiences, show you how my rites are done, like I did in the last video. All right? So I want to thank Hannah for jumping on here with me. I want to thank Alpha Draconian for jumping on here with me. And for those of you who haven't commented, because I know I've been watching the little people figures up here, the numbers were up to 4 a minute ago. Now it's down to 3, and before that it was down to 2. So thank you for jumping on here and watching. Like I said, if you want to hit that subscribe button, feel free so you can get the notifications when I'm on. If not, no big deal. It's not about numbers for me. It's not about popularity. It's about the arts. So have a good day, and until next time. You welcome, Alpha. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Have a good night or a good evening, in my case. All right.